This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com. This show is brought to you by Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcasting with the perfect pepperoni pizza, sliceonbroadway.com. And listeners like you, support this show at patreon.com/awesomecast.
Sidekick Media Services. We are your sidekick in business for social media, video production, and more. Find out more at sidekickmediaservices.com.
Sound to get geeky, get awesome. It is the AwesomeCast episode 507. Mike Sorg at Sorgatron on the Twitter here, and we are ready to get geeky with the crew and have some fun here at the Sorgatron Media Studios in Pittsburgh, PA. Of course, I'm just here by myself in Pittsburgh, PA, but we are ready to get rolling. First of all, we got with us on the line from Studio D. He is the Chilla, back again.
That's me. I am back. Actually, after another hiatus. I think Podner was on the podcast last week, right?
Yeah. He dropped in last week. It was great.
So there's something, and I don't know what it is. Whenever he's scheduled to be on the show, something goes haywire in my life, and I can't make the show.
What?
So
are you saying Podner's bad luck for you being on this show?
I'm not saying. I'm not confirming nor denying.
Inferring or just noticing?
It's a general hypothesis I'm making. And we can test it out the next time he's on the show.
Okay. Well, I'm going to schedule
something ill-fated happens in my life. I'm going to officially blame him.
I'm going to schedule him sooner than later so that we can test this, I guess, in general. So, also back with us is the Dudders.
Hi. And my kryptonite is Cynthia Klosky and Kim Lyons. If they're going to be on the show, then something, either I can't be there or something happens.
Okay. We have we have a lady minimum or maximum on here apparently, right? So
either that or they're like our secret identities that no one else has figured out yet.
Turns out they're all the same person. I can't tell you that I've seen Cynthia and Kim in the same place. That's unconfirmed. That in my memory at least. So, but how you doing? I know you've had a big week. You weren't here last week because you had a big surgery, but you're recovering, right?
Yeah, I feel great. Sore, but definitely feel like spirit-wise feel good. Like just glad to have that all over with and feeling great.
Awesome. Glad to have everybody back here. And you may notice if you're on the live stream, we're doing things a little bit differently. We're using some software that I've been using in some other aspects and had a nice clean install of my computer. And we're using some of the higher end tools here for our regular in-studio podcast now. So a little bit of an upgrade there. I hope you guys enjoy what's going on there. But that also means that Patreon becomes even more exclusive to our Patreon supporters at patreon.com/awesomecast. Just a preview, I was talking with Chilla about a new toy that he got. He got one of those fancy and highly coveted ATEM minis that it seems nobody could have gotten before the pandemic hit. So a little preview of that, and he's going to get some hands-on over the next week as well. But, of course, you can support everything at awesomecast.com. You can hit us up at awesomecast, sorgatronmedia.com. Tweet us at awesomecast. Facebook page is awesomecast, and the Facebook group as well. A lot of great discussions going on over there that you guys can join us with and you know, kind of infer what we're going to talk about here on the show and where we go with that. Please subscribe and rate us. If you're catching us live right now, we are on the Facebook, the Twitter, the YouTube, and the Sorgatron Media Twitch page. Please hit a share, hit a watch party, hit likes, hit hearts, hit whatever it is. Give a like, give a heart right now, so it can help get in front of some more people here as we do this live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on all of those platforms. And of course, a lot of the chatter does happen over on the Facebook page version of the stream. stream. But thank you, everybody, wherever you may be throughout the AwesomeCast universe. Thank you to our audio partners, the 405media.com and postindustrial.com, sharing the AwesomeCast with so many out there. And I mentioned before about that kind of more exclusive Patreon content that's going to be coming up. Thank you to our friends on the Patreon, our friends at the Coffee Club level, Matt Weller, John DeGore, and John Carmen, and at the Fan of the Show level, our friends Michael Fedor, pghmuseums.org, ProfessorBuzzkill.com, and Dave Ponder of the Tiny Shutter Podcast. You guys can support the show too at patreon.com/awesomecast. Chilla, let's start with you on your awesome thing of the week, because it looks like you fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole this week. Is that it?
It's the last time we were on the show, I think we were talking about what's the Switch game that Dudders plays?
Dungeons?
No, we weren't talking about Dungeons.
Animal
we were
Crossing.
talking Animal Crossing. We were talking about Animal Crossing, and then something about Minecraft came up, and then I was like, oh, look at this. And so that led me down further down the rabbit hole of Minecraft. And these two are two more linkish, and I would start with the Foxynotail.com. So if you want to run a modern Bedrock edition of Minecraft on server, they have Microsoft in concert with Mojang has started to limit some of the server options that you have, but you can run that on Windows or you can run that on Linux. So I originally started my server on Windows and just to play around the house. Then I was like, well, if my kid wants to start to get into some of the more advanced features, then he's going to have to run the server on the same machine he's trying to play on, and it's an old 8-year-old laptop.
Yeah, you don't want to push it.
Yeah, so I didn't want to put the stress on the machine, but while I was digging around, I found foxynotail.com/MCBE play. So it's foxynotail.com, and then if you look at the initials, it's Minecraft Bedrock Edition play. They have a really cool skin overlay for Bedrock Edition server that actually gives you all kinds of menu options. It can open up your whitelist. You can set server preferences. It actually does snapshots of your server. So if you want to roll back to a certain day or week, or someone comes in and blows all your stuff up, you actually have archive backups in there. I thought that was pretty cool if you're running the Windows version. I wanted to take my Mac and somehow run it on there. So I think we had talked on the show a while ago about, you can run it in a Docker container. Some people have built that out. What I found was if I run it on Ubuntu server, I can get up to 10 people as long as Ubuntu doesn't have a UI running. I can get about 10 people with dedicating like 2 gig of RAM to it, and it runs extremely well. Now, by doing that, you are stuck with command line everything. So if you're not a expert or at least a novice at Linux command line, you will become one. But to jumpstart yourself, there's a guy over on GitHub. So at github.com/theremote/Minecraft Bedrock Server, all one word. So github.com/theremote/Minecraft Bedrock Server. On his GitHub page, he has actually built a step-by-step page on how to run his script. So his name's James A. Chambers. James has been nice enough to completely write a Linux-based script that runs on Ubuntu and Debian. He's also tested it on ARM 64-bit, Raspberry Pi, and Tinkerboard, along with some x86 platforms. But you download his script and then you execute it. It runs you through a couple questions like, hey, what do you want to call this server? Do you want this to start up as Linux starts up prior to login? do you want to set up a cron job to do the backups and take the snapshots like what I was talking about on the Windows version? So he kind of builds that all in for you, and then you can go in and tweak things as needed, like the Minecraft preferences. He also gives you kind of a start and stop script to run. I definitely recommend looking up the screen command in Linux because it runs in the background and you're in a command line, so there's no such thing as like switching a window to see what the command line's running. And you'll get used to using things like the nano text editor. But I've been extremely happy with the performance, and it's actually led me further down the rabbit hole of running this in one VM on my Mac. So I'm using VirtualBox. If you get it, it's I think virtualbox.org. You can run virtual machines on a single machine, whether it's Mac, Windows, etc. But they will then what I can do is, because I'm not using a whole lot of RAM for this, I can dedicate another machine and run Minecraft Java edition simultaneously. So I've started to set up another Ubuntu server with the Java edition, so I could be running two, and then I'm also looking at using no IP to do external dynamic DNS and some port forwarding so I can get to the servers, and Christopher can play with his friends outside the house.
So let's boil this down for a second, because you said a lot of things that even went over my head in server technology. So including like things that I think were courses at the Art Institute in programming. But so you are creating a server and deep diving in Linux so your son can play more reliably Minecraft on his own
more
server.
reliably, but not just in the house, but also get friends outside of the house.
Yeah. Well, that's also nice, because if you take all, like, okay, one can say what is the advantage of this? One is a nice advantage if you're the kid or teenager that wants to dive into something like this and you now learn how to do server technology. But this is you're running your own server. You don't have to worry about weird things happening. Like this, does this also help you as a parent kind of supervise that situation?
I would say a little bit. The one cool thing that I thought about this is, so with Xbox Live now, right? You can, even on the iPad, if you have an Xbox Live Gold account, you can spin up a server off your device and invite someone else to it.
Off of my iPad?
Yeah, off your iPad. But
wow.
It's kind of, it's not the same in the fact of, if I shut down the game, then the world's gone.
Yeah.
But if you are kind of playing with some friends and you want them to be able to play when you're not around, the running your own server keeps that server up and running even when you're offline. So that's how we kind of got started. Was you open up your iPad, open up a game, and then you can invite someone in, build your own world locally, and then invite someone in. I'm sure somehow Microsoft's taking that, putting it on one of their servers and letting other people join in.
Okay.
But as soon as you're gone, that's gone, and you can spend money on the realms where you kind of have your own world that sits there, and you have operator jurisdiction where you can let people in, make them visitor, make them operator. There are different types of, hey, you can come visit, but you can't edit anything, or you can come edit stuff, but you can't issue any kind of server commands. So it gives you the offline, when you're offline, other people can join in.
Okay. So we'll have the links in the show notes, of course, if you want to dive into that and see if you want to start doing your own Minecraft server setups as well.
And if you do, let me know. And you're hosting it or you're allowing external access, let me know. I'd be interested. I found some plans for building a life-size, and this is the other reason to do it, right? Because you can back it up. Building a life-size Millennium Falcon inside of Minecraft. And Christopher has a book that kind of shows you how to build this old school ice castle looking thing. But I think with a little bit of slight modification, it could quickly become Avengers Tower in New York. So I'm thinking about kind of messing around with in the world and building some of that kind of stuff.
Well, let's stay with the video game line for a moment. Katie, you have, of course, some new news on Animal Crossing.
Yes, so I have to give credit to Chilla because Chilla pointed this out to me, and then I've expanded into other things with this.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's folks making money using Animal Crossing, like real life money. And the story that we have is someone has billions in the bank, billions of bells in their bank, and also making money. She's a stripper, and she started playing with her clients, playing Animal Crossing because she started playing because everybody had some time off, obviously. And she found a lot of her clients were reaching out to her to just play. And so she charges per the hour to just play Animal Crossing with her, to visit her island and stuff. And then depending on how much more you want to pay, it gets a little less wholesome. Mm-hmm. It's, you're still playing Animal Crossing, but she might be wearing something a little bit more revealing. So she's found a way to make money using Animal Crossing. And then, so recently I was on TikTok. This is just like a giant weird rabbit hole. I was on TikTok, and one of the For You videos that popped up, another young lady, she managed to trade and do all this stuff. So on her island is a bunch of items, but they're just the little leaves. Mm-hmm. So essentially, if you pick up an item that's just in leaf form and you put it back down, like if you're visiting your friend's island and you pick it up and put it back down, that item will be in your catalog back home for you to order. So she has managed to pick like 900 items, put it across her island, and categorize them. Like she spent hours doing this. And so essentially she's selling time slots to come out to her island, and you pick up and drop all of these items. So then when you go back home to your island, you essentially can order those items from your own catalog. So it's really neat. And
she has the best stock of this, because she took the time to. That's amazing.
So she's charging, depending on how long you visit the island, like a half hour, I think, was $10, and an hour was $15. But if you wanted a limited time slot, it was $20. Mm-hmm. So I've looked at this as an expansion pack in my head for Animal Crossing. So I messaged her, and like you just kind of hope that you can get on her calendar at some point, and like really nice girl. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, if there's any unlimited slots that open up, so I'm planning on doing this, and hopefully, there'll be a chance we can work out where I can go visit and pick up all these items and, come back home and have them in my catalog. But yeah, I'm considering it an expansion. So there's people making money with Animal Crossing. Mm-hmm. That's in very simple and I think pretty cool ways.
That's amazing. I was kind of curious, but they had a video on here, but I guess it's an Australian article. And we are region locked out of it. So I don't know if we are risque in Animal Crossing territory or what. But so.
And so this is another thing I'm just going to jump off on real quick. So you can visit other islands using the Dream Island ticket now, which I'll go into further next week. Mm-hmm. But I did end up in a scary island the island was in Japan, and it was their island was themed Western scary, like our version of horror. And it was funny. I'll tell you about a few of these island visits, but what they considered like Western horror, like a lot of dolls and body parts that they had, made it look like there were skeletons and body parts, and it's and they tried to draw a pentagram, and it was a Star of David with the 666 on it. So I knew what they were trying to do, but it was really funny because I was like, that's not quite right.
Like
but
it was all like not quite there attempts, like back when is it like back when they used to skin like Quake characters, and it was like that kind of looks like Mario but wrapped around Quake guy,
it's very much like that kind of. This is what we think horror would look like, but we can't really do it exactly. But,
jeez.
But yeah.
So how did you find her?
So how did she showed up in my For You page on TikTok.
Ah.
So it was just, so essentially if you're not used to using TikTok, the For You page, I could actually send you her Instagram. She's also on Instagram. That's where it was easier to follow her.
I am curious. Can you send that over in Slack or the page or something?
Or the doc.
Yeah, or the doc, because I am interested to deep dive into this. and see.
Well, she has one video up there, and she kind of just shows you what it looks like. And I should have sent that to you, and I just because I just thought about it right when we went live, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this lady I'm trying to visit for the expansion pack.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Well, thank you. So, and we will have the article to the Kotaku article on it too. Otaku Australia apparently that you can't watch the video. So, but we'll throw some of that other content out there as well. So, my awesome thing is actually, not a new one, but kind of a realization. Producer Miss has been out in California for a while, so I've just been with lack of things to do lately, catching up on a lot of my television watching. And I came to realize that, and we're now, about 2.5, 3 months into HBO Max being a thing that's released. And I discovered I am mostly watching it right now. And I don't know if it's just it's the new thing and the kind of things they've thrown up there, but it felt like I was watching nothing but Netflix, and now it's like I'm watching nothing but HBO Max stuff. It's really kind of taken over a bit, and there's a couple of reasons. Like, first of all, it's got DC content, of course. Including they've been rolling in Doom Patrol, the Harley Quinn series. If you have this, watch the Harley Quinn series. Not with your children, but watch the Harley Quinn series. Holy crap, it is a hard R, if not further than that. I watched both seasons in under a week last week after they came out, and it seems like that's all that kind of DC Universe stuff, and especially with some of the shakeups we've been hearing in the news about the layoffs and everything. It seems like everything, if there's anything Warner Brothers, it sounds like it's going to be funneled through this app. And it may be your place for that kind of thing. I got it because of my AT&T plans, and we've actually always had HBO through it. But there's a funny thing that's always happening, and I don't know if you guys have had HBO and experienced this too. Like, you'll have HBO, and they got all these movies on there, but it felt like you never knew about them, right? Like, you really had to say, I'm going to sit in HBO and find a movie to watch, which is insane because there's just a bunch of stuff from the 80s on that platform. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the refresh in design or something, but I actually know movies that are happening on here. And there's a lot of movies that aren't officially HBO, and you'll see, if you go through here, you see, Joker's on here that's from HBO, Batman Killing Joke's from HBO, but then you'll have, the original Batman, The Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns animated movies, things like that. And I'm finding that, because of that way it's formatted, the way things are presented, maybe because I'm spending more time in it watching Harley Quinn, it's surfaced all that stuff I'm interested in watching. And it felt like HBO that never happened. Yeah, I would sometimes stumble on, if you didn't catch it when a new movie was on that front splash the first weekend, you didn't know it was going to be there, at all, except for Joker, because Joker seems to be everywhere. It's been kind of an interesting thing for that, and I've had HBO Go forever. It feels like since it came out, more or less. And it's just kind of refreshed that whole experience for me. So not new, but just some more time with it, and kind of nice to kind of find all that content. It's kind of where I go when I'm it's Friday night and I want to watch a movie right now. It seems so, because it feels like I've been through everything interesting on Netflix.
So I've also been using it. I haven't used it for the DC side, but I wanted to go watch a couple things that I knew that were on HBO, so went and watched them. I'll be honest with you, I thought as a HBO Go person, I was a little bit thrown off with the user interface because they've kind of mashed up what seems to be 6 or 10 different kind of networks of information. Like you said, DC, it's Cartoon Network on there. There's there's a bunch of them that are on there. So that threw me for a bit of a whirl. And the other thing that bummed me out was, as a TiVo subscriber, I was using my TiVo to access HBO Go. And when they switched to HBO Max, they broke
Oh
all
no.
of the HBO Go applications.
Oh no.
Not just for TiVo, but like if you try to launch that on your iPad now, it'll say,
Yeah,
"Hey, this is now HBO Max."
I actually did just today. I accidentally opened the HBO Go because I don't clean out my iPad at all. It's just kind of got whatever on it because it's like syncing anything I download on my phone, right? And I got that. I'm like, what did I do? And I realized I clicked the wrong one. And I was like, well, I'll never find it to delete it. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, no, it's and also interesting because there are certain platforms that don't have Max yet, like Roku's I think don't. Prime Fire Sticks, Amazon Fire Sticks don't have it yet because they're they're going over whatever deals or something for this, and they're not panning out. So. It's been a good take. If you're a DC fan, I would probably not invest in DC Universe right now because I'm sure Titans and Swamp Thing and everything's probably going to come over eventually too. And on top of that, if that's not enough to kind of think about it that way, there was some shakeups at Warner Media that, from the sounds of it, means that they are looking at HBO Max as the main consumer funnel of where everything goes now, right? Like there's a lot of TV, TNTs, TBSs, Cartoon Network's a lot of them represented on here. But then there's also it's like the focus sounds like it's going to be HBO Max versus all these other properties. So, and again, this is shakeups from them being bought by AT&T, and they've just been kind of reformatting the entire company ever since. So it's interesting to see, and curious where it's going to go from there. So, but worthwhile. It's $15 a month, so it's I mean that's only a little bit more than Netflix. And if you're a DC fan, plus, well, not Harry Potter because that's going to Peacock now very shortly. But there's probably enough on there for a lot of people to be worthwhile for that. Good content on there. Like I'm not hurting to find stuff like I am on Hulu half the time. So that is one interesting thing there. So let me know if you guys have been checking out HBO Max, and I haven't even dived into Cartoon Network. I need to get in and be like, I need to watch Samurai Jack because I've only seen bits and pieces, and it's a series I want to see. Rick and Morty, I haven't seen the new season, like things like that. So, but Katie, have you? I don't think you don't have HBO Max, but have you been looking at that content-wise as something on the horizon?
Friends.
What Friends? Oh, that's
Friends.
right. They got Friends.
Mm-hmm. So I do have access to that.
Oh, yeah. That was
in a content share, I guess.
That's the killer app for you was the Friends, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
it's worth it for me to have that because we share. Kind
of aside, I was poking around a little bit at Peacock, and they have those kind of channels, and so I'm like, I wonder. I was kind of flipping through it, and there's an Office channel, but it's not like episodes of The Office. It's Office shorts, so they're just clips and gags from The Office, and some of them are pretty quick, and it's really kind of startling. And then I flipped through, and the SNL is the same thing, where it's just like, it's just bits. And it was the Mother Lover music video with Timberlake. But that's kind of fun. It's interesting channel. There's an Unsolved Mysteries channel in there, and that's all free. That's like not with a subscription on Peacock. And supposedly there's a lot of stuff. Mad Mike was telling us on the Monday Wrestling Mayhem show. He started rewatching Heroes that's on Peacock, so that's worthwhile. And by the way, and I thought it wasn't going to hold up because we have so many superhero shows these days. He says it still holds up. It's still something different, worth taking a look at if you've never seen Heroes before, especially that first season holds up really well. So, and then Rider Straight got weird.
I went back and rewatched Heroes right before they relaunched a couple years back.
Yeah, when they had the reboot. Yeah.
And I will say, going back at least season 1 definitely holds up. And I think I got so tired. I was not too happy with it way back in the day. So I had actually stopped watching towards the middle of the last season and actually finally completed it.
It's probably a lot easier now than the week to week and and
Mm-hmm.
mumbling over it. So that was the water cooler talk for us. Was definitely Heroes week to week. So, but no, but it's kind of wonky to see where all of these are going, because it's not like in your mind you're like, Peacock should have Friends and Seinfeld in The Office, right? And I think Seinfeld still belongs to Hulu, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. But I guess those are always going to be kind of passed around from time to time. So I'll be interested to see how that pans out. But anyways, speaking of pans, let's talk about some pizza. Okay, it's not pan pizza that I get from there. I don't know if they have a pan pizza, to be honest. Our good friend Slice on Broadway, supporting Pittsburgh podcast with the perfect pepperoni pizza. 3 locations, Beachview, Carnegie, and the East End. Of course, supporting the AwesomeCast for most of our 10 years of this show. Thank you so much to Rico and the guys down there for supporting the show. And it's kind of nice. I'm actually getting some people back in the studio here and there. So it's good that we are feeding the guests that are coming in here as we feel safe to do so, and doing that, stepping through that. But thank you so much for Slice for continuing support. So thank you, all of you, for supporting Slice on Broadway through all these weird and interesting times. Check them out, sliceonbroadway.com. So let's get into a couple of stories I saw over on our AwesomeCast Facebook group. So I read this article after I get the email, says, hey, you should add your podcast to Amazon. And I was like, well, yeah, sure. So I added 15 podcasts to Amazon from the network yesterday. And then I saw, hey, this is maybe not a good idea. Now, the reason that Podner shares here, he says, I don't trust Amazon from a supplier standpoint, and this continues to look bad. I think more or less the gist of this is that Amazon, while they're expanding their Amazon Music and Audible to include podcasts and can include your podcast, that also means like how Spotify does, where they are going to run their own ads probably against it. And of course, this is not like you probably have to pay for Audible or Amazon Music. It's not an open ecosystem like you see on iTunes, Google Podcasts, or things like that. To me, I'm not as concerned, and maybe it's just the nature of our product that we put out. I'm not terribly concerned about ads being run against it or anything. I kind of personally just look at it as another platform to put your content that you can be discovered on. I don't know, Chilla, Katie, are you? I know, Katie, you're on Pandora, so I don't know if you're finding a lot of podcasts on that platform. But do you guys see any issues with Amazon taking on podcasts here?
It'll be interesting to see what they do, and how, because I hadn't seen this until now. But how do I search for it? Is it going? Because I'll tell you what, like my Echo isn't my go-to for listening to a podcast, so I feel like it's not going to be discoverable for me because I'm never using.
It's not your life workflow.
It's just not. It's not my.
Yeah.
It's not part of my workflow, and at a glance, I don't see how it could improve my workflow.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you said, "Hey, all your alarms from now on can be your a podcast rotation," I might be like, that could be interesting.
And I bet you could You could probably set up an Amazon skill that'll do that eventually, right?
That could be interesting. Like, hey, when I'm going to bed, have it, and I've already kind of done that from time to time with even the Apple podcast app, where you can kind of have it do the countdown to bedtime and have it play your podcast as you fall asleep.
Yeah.
If I could set it kind of as the alarm clock, that might be kind of cool.
What do you think, Katie?
I like the idea of I'm not big on Amazon. Like, I like Amazon Video here and there. Like, it's not like a big source for me to look for content. So I'm curious to see what Amazon will do that'll try to make it more interesting and appealing than the other podcast apps. But as far as like if I had a dot or something, if I still had a dot, it wasn't living at Chilla's house. I think still it was adopted.
Well,
by Chilla.
and just a review, you received a dot, set it up, it disagreed with you, and then you
Dot
sold
did
it to
not like
Chilla.
Dot didn't like me.
It's in my mudroom. It likes me.
Of course it does. But I feel like it would be nice, like, to be able to go, hey, play my podcast. But I feel like Amazon already had that. The dot was already able to do that from other places. And like what, I don't know. Like I just want to know what Amazon's going to do to make it more appealing, like separate itself, because you gotta, I don't know, like everything is so much the same anymore that you really have to have a feature that goes, yes, I need this, or this is the only place I can get this.
Mm-hmm. And Potter's pointing this out, and man, I should have read the stuff before I agreed to it, but we'll see how that goes. If you claim to offer access to podcasts, so apparently in the user agreement, Amazon required podcast producers to agree to certain terms, including one that said shows could not include comments that disparage Amazon or its products. Well, jeez.
We've just been voted off the island.
Yeah.
We didn't even make it in near the island. We weren't even in the boat to go to the island.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think we're generally positive about Amazon here, but we'll find out. It's really, are they really going to be looking at that? So
I will say that's how I got the ATEM Mini was. I'll be honest with you, I put a couple watches on a couple different reseller sites for when it was back in stock, because I was not paying the overpriced reseller fee.
Yeah.
And Amazon was actually the first one to hit me up with a, hey, this is back in stock at normal prices. So
yeah,
they did me some good there.
Well, with Amazon, like anything else, if that's a little too much for you, and we have friends on the network that have looked at Spotify and said they don't want, certain ads next to the things they're talking about, because that doesn't make sense, and I get that, but it's usually probably just mattress ads in the long run, like usual. But so Amanda over at Bolt Pittsburgh shared some update on some TikTok action. Of course, there's a lot of updates going on, and then I would check your daily news tech podcast for the updates on that. But for your consideration, she says, the CIA apparently found no evidence the Chinese government has access to TikTok data, according to a report. And of course, that is the basis for supposedly not K-pop stans, that why we're going through all of this right now with TikTok supposedly being banned by September 15th by executive order, and for some reason WeChat got thrown into the pile as well, I guess. So and I don't know. I don't know where that's going to go, considering their parent company, Tencent. Literally, I booted up, I started watching Wonder Woman, just like something to doze off to over the weekend, and was like, oh, hey, it's a Tencent picture. How about that? Also, like half of Silicon Valley is like funded by it. So I think it's going to get uglier before it gets better, or it's just going to fade away. But
what data are they actually getting?
I don't know. The data on your phone, the data, location data. There's the copy and paste scandal with the iOS 14 beta, which, by the way, LinkedIn was also accused of.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them accused of that.
There's some places, I mean, it's the typical social media data that you'll get, the ad data. But again, I think, don't you log into it? Can't you log into it with a Facebook or something as well? Katie, are you familiar?
As far as I know, it's just, I don't think so. Like, I can't think of a way for to log in it, because, I can't think of a way to do it.
You can go in anonymous, though, can't you? You don't have to log into TikTok to
use it?
To like watch.
I don't think so.
You can do a handful of videos. Like, you can do like maybe 4 or 5 videos, and then it sends you to either download the app or use the app, because it limits you the number, because I annoy people by sending them TikTok links, because they can only watch so many before it's like, use the app.
Yeah, I can see it. Well, Facebook's definitely making their move by introducing Reels on your Instagram, which is hidden in the Explore tab on Instagram, and yeah, it looks like it. And from what I understand, the algorithm is not quite as good as TikTok. It's literally just sending you dance videos, and that's it. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, Reels is not. It's trying to recreate it. They're just trying to blow it up Instagram with as much like different stuff to try to pull in all these apps that do different things. But it's definitely nothing anywhere close to TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you can use it for, and you can't even find them.
Yeah. Not immediately. Like it's not front and center versus what TikTok does. Which I think it's difference between that and stories that came over from Snapchat, because like stories was kind of a secondary feature on Snapchat and then became a secondary feature on Instagram and Facebook. So like it, you could mimic it more and it didn't seem so chintzy, I guess. But yeah, I guess I could. I don't know.
I feel like Instagram should just call a spade and put a menu up at the top that says, here's our Snapchat knockoff, and I see this on Roblox games all the time, right? Everybody's knocking everybody else's games off, so it's like, here's the Snapchat knockoff menu, and here's the TikTok knockoff menu, and it would make it a lot easier to find these things.
Which of our competitors would you like to mimic? You mentioned Roblox, and I was going to go One Direction, but I have to do this now. What's that?
The band? One Direction, sorry.
No. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. One Direction to Roblox. So I should have been at the Gathering of Juggalos this past weekend. It's like the last major like thing I should have done, other than a friend's wedding actually in a couple months, but of the summer. And it kind of hurt to know that was that weekend. A random calendar that I didn't delete by then. So apparently, according to Newsweek of all places, some juggalos had gotten together over the past week to still gather digitally. And where did they gather, Chilla? You can probably
looks like they gathered on Roblox.
It looks like they had a gathering on Roblox. They encouraged everybody to listen to Juggalo and Insane Clown Posse music at home and join them at noon on, I think it was the 8th. Through the 8th they were doing. So they did this for 4 days, just like the gathering, but in Roblox. I have not seen anything of this. I tried downloading Roblox and didn't get a chance to hop into it to see if I could find it. But this exists somewhere, just like the visuals of the real gathering of Juggalos. It is a mystery to us, and we don't know what it was really like. I doubt there was not as much nudity or violence. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with Roblox, as I think you are our expert in this, correct, Chilla?
Well, you could, they could give you weapons, and you could go around blowing each other up, or...
Wait a minute. What do you think we do at the gathering?
I don't know.
Yeah, the basic experience is things are blown up. Sometimes a car gets flipped that they found somebody that's been stealing out of your tents, and you will probably be propositioned to show your butthole. That is and concerts and
well, you could do everything but probably show your butthole.
There's no Roblox butthole to be shown?
No, not really.
No? Okay. Nobody would
I guess they could make a single stationary one kind of as the part of the level, but I'll tell you what, if Roblox has a pretty cool editor to it. It's kind of, you can actually get started. They have a couple kind of baseline level types, and you can quickly get in and build your own. I'd also be interested, did they publish this, or did you have to be invited? Did they make it a private level?
So you're reading this thing, and I don't think they even mentioned Roblox until like the last paragraph. It was the worst written article. You're like, oh yeah, cool, we're gonna do online stuff, like see in Roblox. I'm like, what? Katie, you have attended a gathering of the Juggalos. What do you think of the digital alternative idea that may have happened last week?
I mean, it's no fun without the porta potties, for sure.
It definitely smells better.
Yeah, we need a candle, a porta potty smell candle. So we properly celebrate the gathering of the Juggalos at the Roblox.
Oh boy. Oh, that is an inside joke, partner. I will not get into live on the air. I don't know if you saw that, Katie. That's for you too. Anyways, speaking of Katie, so Twitter has a new ability that is has already rolled out. Correct?
We should be seeing it. Everybody should be seeing it, if not now, soon, very, very soon.
Okay.
Depending, So essentially, instead of just being able, you can tailor your tweets to only receive replies from either the people that are in the tweet, the people in the tweet, or everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So or you can just kind of limit it down each time you tweet, so you're not getting folks who are just everyone, people you follow, or only people you mention. That's it. So you're not just getting a bunch, because a lot of people will just go out there and reply to everything, no matter whether or not they know you, and they just want to cause trouble. We understand, there are accounts that do that, or bot accounts. So this just kind of cuts out and might make more people more comfortable to be more honest and put things out on Twitter, because they're not going to be facing a potential backlash of just random folks who they don't really care if they what their response is. But it kind of it works both ways, and you kind of leave these tweets out here unchecked also too, which kind of makes me a little bit nervous. But I mean as a user it's wonderful. But
so it's, by the way, byline alert on this. I don't know if you noticed who wrote this.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Kim Lyons wrote this one, friend of the show, speaking of. Or Dudders, if we believe they're the same person. So if I tweet and I say who can reply, people can still see my tweet, right? Like it is still public for people. So and does this affect quote tweets?
Well, I think if you're going to have to retweet something with a comment, to essentially reply to somebody, if they're keeping it within their followers, or
so it's basically if I hit this tweet and see all the replies, those will only be my limited replies that I've selected. Okay, that makes sense. Well, it changes the dynamic of Twitter, but I suppose we are long beyond the purity of 140 characters through texting. With Twitter, and everything ends up looking the same towards the end, as they keep growing and bloating, right? And looking like each other. Looking at you, Instagram. Speaking of, Chilla, you have any thoughts on this?
I apologize. I'm not paying attention because I'm trying to get into the ICP, the Virtual Gathering 2020 on Roblox to see if it still exists.
Okay, be careful. Be careful. If you get any tips to fit in, like Katie and I know.
I see so you can equip Fago, you can play arcade games, you can throw Fago, you can move the camera. There's fair rides.
Yes. Do the fair rides look as questionable as the real ones? Because I gotta say, the last time I was on a Ferris wheel was that one gathering, and I think it kind of scared me from them since. So.
Same.
Wait, I think it's the one I was with you at.
Yeah.
We just rode this Ferris wheel and be like, this is kind of cool, but I'm kind of entirely frightened at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was terrifying.
Yeah. Anyways, so while Chilla goes to check on the gathering on Roadblocks, I will not pull one of his stories for this. What else do we got in here?
It looks like the server's they shut it down.
They shut it down. Well, it ended at the 8th, and that usually means that the sheriff comes in and clears things out. So the Roblox probably just did the same thing. But anyways, so I actually got to play this. This is one of the games that was previewed at the Xbox event a couple of weeks ago, called Grounded. Imagine Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as a video game, basically. And I was, and Katie, I think I was sending you when I was starting to play it. I was sending images to Missy, and I think you guys too, right? So, but there was an article that popped up on Vice actually about how the game, of course, being you're a kid who's shrunk and you're in the middle of the backyard is the basic concept of this. So And spiders are apparently a popular monster in other things like Elder Scrolls, but of course that means there's an accessibility problem that they explore here. And when you do load the game, and also even in this article they say there are no images of spiders in this article at all. So if you were reading this for that reason, you were not kind of refrained from doing that as well. So there was a pop-up that comes in when you load this game, says this game contains spiders that are often much larger than the player. If you are super not okay with that, you can enable arachnophobia safe mode in the accessibility options. This is a visual only setting that does not affect gameplay or difficulty. So, and I'm like, I shrugged it off, and of course I'm playing this thing at night. Then yeah, I got the heebie-jeebies when the spider attacked me. But apparently what it'll do is, instead of it being a spider-looking thing, it becomes kind of a blobous, big black thing with beady eyes on it to keep you from the arachnophobia side of things. My wife is deathly afraid of spiders, and I kept messaging and say, hey, you can play this game. I don't, and apparently this was a problem with Elder Scrolls as well, where some people tried playing it and actually, at least for the PC version, had to download a no spider mod to be able to play it, because basically anytime you went into a dark cave, you got attacked by spiders, and that was going to be a problem. Katie, Chilla, for games that are like, typically games are pretty big on fear, like this is kind of a nice accessibility thing for kind of a good kind of first person RPG-ish action figure stuff out in a yard game.
Well, I can tell you that doing surveys for haunted houses for years, spiders were always within the top 3 usually of things that people always repeatedly put in that they were scared of, and it was like, and I never thought about adjusting a game because that fear is so common.
What were the other 2?
Usually clowns and chainsaws, because it was the clowns running around with chainsaws that shot spiders was the big plan. Like, if you ever really
you see, I would have just had a spider clown with a chainsaw.
With each leg has a chainsaw.
There you go. Yeah.
I do like this idea though. And I like that they didn't alter the gameplay. What I'd be interested in knowing is I'm guessing the blob moves around just as fast as the spider and is the same target space. So yeah, I think it's a cool idea. And I mean, we've seen players modding games for years. So this is just one more, they just built it into me.
It's an Xbox game. It's actually in preview. It's not even the completed game at this point either. It's part of Game Pass, so you're able, if you're on that, you can check it out. And it's from Obsidian, who's pretty big with RPGs apparently. So they probably have had the spider problem in the past. So, but no, it generally it is a really fun game, a really weird kind of quirky game. So I highly recommend it. I spent an evening with it, a few hours with it one time. So in the last week or so, I think. So, Chilla.
We're on a video game kick. Seems like also go to the last article.
The spies don't die heading.
The spies don't die.
Oh no! Yes, tell me about this.
So there is.
No! I just read the headline.
So some genius did a fan remake of GoldenEye 007 from back in the days. I remember I had it for N64. So they rebuilt the game, and it's the 25th anniversary, so they were calling it, I think, like GoldenEye 25. And they got picked up by enough news media that they got a cease and desist order from MGM.
Oh no!
So fear not. While GoldenEye 25th anniversary or GoldenEye 25 will not be recreated by this crew, and they actually had the watch menu down and everything. The weapons and ammo system, portions of the levels, the 3D models and texture sound effects. They're all going to continue to use it. In fact, their Twitter will be shut down this Friday, but they will be going under the new Twitter handle, Spies Don't Die. It's a working title for right now. They're taking feedback on what the game should be called, but they're going to revamp some of the levels, add new ones, and will be kind of creating their own sort of 007 like game. I'm sure people will. It'll cause people to think, oh, this reminds me of GoldenEye. But they check them out. I actually started following them on Twitter because I'm interested to see what they do with this, and I'm extremely hopeful we're going to get like a 4-player multiplayer version of this, which will be super cool.
Yes. So so two sides of this. One, and it's mentioned here in the article, like these remakes and remasters are nothing new. Black Mesa was a remaster of the original Half-Life that actually made it out to the wild. But again, that's not a license. That's not MGM James Bond, right? It's it's a remake of something, and I think Valve has a pretty big mod community, so it kind of makes sense that they would not touch that. And I know there's been Nintendo has, I think, knocked off a couple of times remasters of Mario 64 that have gone out. So that situation is definitely not new. I also think it's interesting, like these kinds of pivots, because I've seen this elsewhere as well. There's some, and we've actually had interviews. I think one of our awesome chats was about the previous version of this game. There's a game on Steam called Action Arcade Wrestling, I think is the current name of it, but it was attached to another wrestling promotion who unfortunately got tied up in the speaking out movement that's happened over the last couple of months and basically folded. So they have actually stripped that branding off of this wrestling game, which is made, by the way, and I met them and talked to them at a show when they were early demoing the game, and it's a husband and wife programming team, I believe. Either way, it's just two people. So when they were given the updates and stuff, like they were just like, it's out, and they were improving it as they went, and we're looking to do, I believe, both Xbox and PlayStation ports. But it is kind of interesting, seeing indie developers like this do a pivot when the license becomes inaccessible for one reason or another, right?
It's definitely super cool that they're redoing this one. I'm glad they picked this one. To your point, just like Mario and a couple other ones that have been kind of knocked off. Hopefully they'll be able to do something with it and kind of come up with some of their own ideas. I have this actually came from the Wrestling Mayhem Show group, but I shared it over on the AwesomeCast as well because technologically it's interesting. Have you guys seen the roller coaster video where in Japan where they're trying to tell you if you can ride our roller coasters when the theme parks reopened, but please don't yell because that's the risk factor with COVID because of moisture particles coming out, and that's what
scream in your heart or scream from your heart or whatever.
So there was a hilarious video that was going around of two guys in like suits riding the roller coaster the entire way, just got a camera on them, and they're just like reacting but just not screaming, right? Just to show that you could do it. New Japan Pro Wrestling came back at the beginning of July, and of course Japan is a lot further along with the COVID comeback than we are, and the pro wrestling thing amongst many sports are still being figured out if they still happen in America. But in their instance, they came back, I think it was about halfway through the month. I actually just started watching this show the other day, and they have fans, and they were distanced and pretty large arena, and they did all that, and they're wearing masks, but they did also ask them, please don't chant and scream during the wrestling match. You hear a lot of clapping, you hear a lot of foot stomping, and that's how they're reacting, okay? So, New Japan, for their next show, This one doesn't have the date on it, but either way, so they're introducing an app and they're trying this out at their next live show from the looks of things. And the idea is that you download this app, and it's going into beta August 9th, according to this article. Instead of you cheering, you use the app to cheer. And the app is in Japanese, so you don't know what cheer is, what chant or whatever that you're pressing. But ideally, you will use the app, hit the button, and I believe it will. I'm unclear on this because I think the app itself, like, it's just a sound app, right? Somebody told me, and I don't see it in this article or alluded to anywhere else, that maybe it plays over the speakers kind of idea, like everybody, hits kind of how they're piping in stuff for like the for baseball, but this is like maybe a dynamic thing. But I think the idea is I sit here on my phone, hit a soundboard, and the fact that we're all hitting the soundboard on our phones will make that crowd noise happen organically, right? But it's such an interesting way to get around the please don't cheer at our shows. I was actually at an indie taping where they said we need to do this. So, but I don't know if it happens with like 100 people versus like, a couple thousand idea like that. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this something that should come to maybe some more sports as an option as crowds are maybe allowed to attend?
Oh, I'd love to see this, like if it was a thing, but it definitely have to control it so didn't have people just going yay boo, yay, yay, like inappropriately, like, or it would just be a whole bunch of sounds.
And also I should iterate that Japanese crowds are very respectful.
Yeah.
Very respectful. Like even before this, like you would hear mostly silence during a match, especially if it was like really going match, and then you'll just hear applause. Like there wasn't a whole ton of yelling beforehand. So it's like maybe it's just that scale, it kind of works out better, right? Chilla, what do you think?
I think this would be super cool, especially where I mean, not that we can watch Penguins games anymore, but
nope.
I mean, if you could have had, even for the players, if you could have pumped that into the arena or to the venue, I think that would have been super cool. I completely agree with Katie's point of, don't let people abuse it. So maybe you sign in and you kind of root for your team and you only get to use certain areas of the sound palette or whatever. But it would also change the dynamic of watching it, because it felt weird with no audio in the stands, like no fans, none of that.
You're talking for hockey.
For hockey, but and I mean, baseball's pretty much the same, right? I mean,
just a roar when something actually happens, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, unless you're like the guy from Weekend at Bernie's, he's the only one that I saw in the stands. if you caught a glimpse of that, I think.
No,
from
I didn't.
New York. So in New York, you had to pay. You could pay to get your cardboard cutout put behind home plate for the games, and someone paid and got the guy from Weekend at Bernie's like slouched down with the sunglasses on in the stands for the baseball game. So I thought that was hysterical. But no, I mean, I feel like missing that fan interaction is an impacting watching, as well as, I'm guessing, impacting the players, so that if they can pump that throughout the arenas or whatever as well, I think that'd be pretty cool.
That'll be interesting to see. Well, at that point, I think it's time to wrap up here, guys. Chilla, you are, of course, at Chilla on the Twitter.
John Chichilla on the Facebook.
I didn't hit the buttons right. Hold on. There it is. There, now it's working.
There I is. There I is. There I go.
There I is. Katie, of course, you are, of course, putting your updates over on your Instagram and your social media as well, right?
Yep, Kate Marie PGH. I have also been invited to go to the island where I can do the pickup and dropsies. tonight, so I will have an update for you for next week.
Fantastic! I can't wait to see how that goes there. So, Katie's paying to go to strange islands.
It's an expansion pack.
It's like downloadable content.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you really haven't dived into the micro transactions too bad there, have you?
No, I've been pretty well behaved.
Okay. We're like, this is the splurge. This is like when I was like, I've played Pokemon enough that I can drop $15 on Pokeballs because they deserve my money.
Yeah, exactly. I'm supporting somebody too.
Except you're not supporting Nintendo with somebody else.
You can go in a group.
There you go.
Make friends.
So you feel safe. Thank you so much, everybody that's been on our chat room throughout the night. Hi, Mom, and everybody else, and Dave Potter, and everybody else hopping in there as well. So thank you so much, and you have been our awesome audience. Have an awesome week. This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.